We are kind of like a special group of, I guess,
experts.
Yeah, like
Yeah, you guys are like experts.
building out microservices on AWS. I used to attend like the AWS conferences. It was just like a herd of people, It's kind of like a grind. I'm pretty blessed to be able to work in this ecosystem because I feel challenged every day. It's really cool to be able to make impactful changes in the ecosystem, not just trying to play catch up, but actually drive the thing forward. I think that's kind of what I was looking for when I kind of made the leap into this ecosystem. Like I wasn't really doing anything unique. I felt like I wasn't really contributing back to the broader technological landscape. But like now it actually feels like I'm realizing that vision.
The launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys, blasting off with Tim Wu, a principal engineer at ChainSafe, and we're here in their offices in Toronto. Tim was around, thought we'd get him on the show. Very lucky to have him with us. Tim, welcome to Space Monkeys.
Thanks for having me, man. I've been listening for a while now.
Well, you're a huge contributor to the Polkadot ecosystem, but you weren't always working in Web3, like since the beginning. You're a little bit newish-er, this decade at least.
Yep.
What were you doing before you got into the Web3 space?
I'm dating myself here, but I was in Web 2 for like probably 12 years before I made the jump into Web 3.
What were you building?
I worked at the Globe and Mail out of university.
Big newspaper in Canada.
Yeah, doing like front end work. Moved to a marketing agency. Actually, the office is just around here.
Okay.
Worked on like Sears, Home Depot, kind of e-commerce stores. Took a detour, tried to do my own startup, which failed.
What was it?
It was called the Juno. It was kind of like an aggregator of like Groupon and Living Social, those type of like group deals.
Oh yeah.
Ended up in Ireland at some incubator, try to get seed funding. Actually won the competition, but then things fell apart.
Yeah.
Came back here. Ironically, I ended up working for like Drake and October's very own, like the Owl brand.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Actually, the best man that from my wedding, he knows someone who works in that company.
Yeah.
Hooked me up. They needed someone to rebuild their e-commerce store.
Okay.
And I kind of did that. So, because I had some cloud experience at the time. So did that for like 3 years. Migrated them to Shopify.
Okay.
Because they got way too big.
So is it true that if you live in Toronto, you're probably 1 or 2 connections away from Drake? Because I find like, everybody's a few connections from Drake somehow.
I think, well, for me it is. Like, but maybe, yeah, like he is a major force here in Toronto. He's kind of sets the culture, sets the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it is. We're all kind of like a small community around that kind of like, backs Drake for some reason.
Thanks for him for putting us on the map, I guess.
Yeah, like he definitely put Toronto on the map, at least in the culture, or at least in the pop culture type of scene.
Cool. So what a come up. So you're doing a lot of e-commerce and everything in Web 2. You kind of mentioned like everybody's just an expert of AWS. What was kind of grinding your gears in Web 2? It's just boring, not challenging.
Well, I was more on the product side, right? So I don't have to, I started out on the front end, but kind of migrated to the back end. And we became experts at building out microservices on AWS. I used to attend like the AWS conferences.
Yeah.
But it was just like a herd of people, it's just, we're all kind of doing the same thing, but not really, working on the infrastructure or working on open source technologies or anything like that. So it's kind of like a grind. It's kind of like you're just learning the same things. You're kind of monitoring what's coming out from Amazon and all these cloud technologies. But
yeah,
I think we're kind of at this weird inflection point, at least in Web3 now, because now we're kind of focused on products again, right?
Exactly. So yeah, totally.
So I feel like I kind of have a grasp on what we're trying to achieve here, at least in Web3. I think we're trying to meet developers closer to what they're used to.
Yeah.
And maybe if we can build out a technology stack that kind of resembles Web 2, or at least ideas that they're used to actually deliver products. Yeah, I think that would be great. So that's kind of why I'm still motivated to work in this space, because there's a lot of work to be done. I've always been like a technologist, right? Bitcoin being digital gold and like Ethereum kind of being an iteration on that. But that led me to just pursue more. Like I dove into the Cardano ecosystem, dove into the Polkadot ecosystem.
Was that after you were hired by ChainSafe?
This is kind of like before I joined
okay.
ChainSafe. So I was just looking at things that I could find where I was getting interested in. So when I was looking for like a blockchain job or a crypto job, I was actually weighing between like working on the Ethereum node, Prism, from Prismatic Labs, which is like a Go consensus node in Ethereum, and ChainSafe, which had a Go Polkadot node, right? So which was Gossamer at the time.
What's your lineage with Go? You were working with Go before, or?
I kind of championed Go back in when I worked at Flip. It was mostly like Ruby on Rails, Node.js kind of stuff before. And it wasn't really performant enough when we were building out the backend microservices.
Yeah.
And kind of stumbled upon Go, realized how simple the syntax was, how performant it was. It still has kind of garbage collection, which people are used to. We kind of migrated a lot of the microservices to Go. And when I moved to Envision, their backend was primarily in Go. And it was a really popular language at the time, and still is, but I feel like Rust is kind of like taken over a lot of the mind share, at least in Web3. Pretty much, I think like Go and Rust are still the primary backend languages that people are using. That's kind of what I'm working on now, like Polkadot SDK initiatives with parity, and trying to learn Rust and contribute in Rust now.
ChainSafe is a pretty big organization, actually. You have offices all over the world. What's kind of the mission of ChainSafe?
ChainSafe was trying to realize like a multi-chain future.
Okay.
We have multiple protocol teams. We have our Lodestar node, which is a consensus node written in TypeScript. And it's pretty big. It's actually got a lot of the market share right now just because they really try to push like client diversity in Ethereum.
Yeah.
We have a Rust Filecoin node.
Cool.
It's called Forest. And then we have the Gossamer node, which was like a Polkadot relay chain node written in Go. And so like that's kind of like where how ChainSafe started. It was a lot of based on like grants from like the Ethereum Foundation, Web3 Foundation. Yeah, we try to foster like a good engineering culture here, like focused on protocols, and we have a consulting team kind of like working on the latest and greatest ZK stuff. I think we're working on the optimism stack as well. So like it's a diverse group of people in the blockchain ecosystem, but we kind of have like our hands in different pots and like different ecosystems.
Yeah, it's like protocol devs for hire, but like big kind of core infrastructure projects.
Yeah, and I think like we are all about like the public goods. We want to do everything open source.
Sure, yeah.
We kind of try to develop a few products here and there. I know that we have like Sprinter is our big project that kind of like diverts or tries to divert liquidity effectively through like EVM chains and L2s. We're trying to get into like some staking services across the different ecosystems. But I think we're kind of returning back to what we do best, which is kind of like public goods, open source, protocol development.
Can you recall your first day at ChainSafe? Your impressions? What was happening around you?
First day at ChainSafe, well, it was pretty much a remote company, right? So I was pretty much at home in my sweatpants and kind of like attending the first meetings. But it was a big change. Like it's kind of what I was looking for, you know, the challenge of trying to understand how all these Web3 technologies work. The project was already in place. We already had a good significant code base when I joined. It's just like a fire hose of information that you're just trying to absorb, you know. Totally. I feel like I didn't really get a good footing or a good understanding until about a year in.
Damn.
And that was kind of when Parachains was being launched.
Yeah.
So like the relay chain has really evolved from that, like from the beginnings of that to like supporting Parachains, doing XCM. Now we're like leaning into like elastic scaling and all this, and then the future being Jam. So it's been a whirlwind for sure.
And your mandate then was to lead the engineering team?
I came in as a senior engineer to try to just be an individual contributor.
Yeah.
But I think they had some inklings that they were looking for someone to kind of like manage the team. We had a technical lead at that time, Elizabeth. She actually coded most of the node at that time. But I think they were looking for like someone that could, maybe fulfill the engineering manager role a little bit, but also kind of contribute to the code base.
Sure.
I had a lot of Go experience, and the node being in Go, like I could kind of be a good code reviewer, kind of like instill some best practices, teach like, I guess, basic Go practices to the engineers.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that people don't realize is that like an engineering team is kind of like a sports team. You gotta have to each other's back. You gotta have to figure out where you can contribute, where you can fill in, what kind of roles you need to play, right? So, yeah. Like I know that there's some superstar devs out there, especially in the Polkadot ecosystem, that can kind of like knock out tens of thousands of lines of code and deliver something. But at some point, someone's got to review the code, and like merge it into this code base. So.
Yeah, you need a whole pipeline, right, to make sure it doesn't fall apart.
Yeah.
So the client was already underway when you got here?
Yeah, like parachains was a big thing. So like kind of like the Elves protocol.
Yeah.
Essentially, we were trying to play catch up to Parity for a good 3-4 years.
Yeah, right.
And their team is a lot bigger than ours, so it was quite a struggle. So
no doubt.
We got pretty close to completing, or at least having like a working validator on the test nets. Like we submitted a treasury proposal maybe like 3 months ago to try to continue that work. But the feedback that we got from the ecosystem was that given that jam is coming, maybe alternative clients to the relay chain isn't the most important thing right now.
Okay, but just sticking with your work building this client, was the most challenging part trying to keep up with Parity? Just because they're moving so quickly, but also they're kind of chaotic?
I think the biggest challenge was that like there wasn't really a spec,
Yeah, right.
Like it's not like the way that the gray paper is like outlined right now, or like everything's kind of spec'd out before, or like at least we're involved in the process of like writing the spec and helping develop the spec. It was more so like we would have the general idea of how things work, but the real spec is the code itself.
That's so different, actually, even than working with Ethereum.
Ethereum has a spec and it hasn't really changed that much. And in all honesty, it's a lot less complex than the Polkadot relay chain. And so these ideas of like availability and like erasure encoding chunks and, disputes.
Jeez.
Like this was the first roll-up shared security type of system built in like the broader blockchain ecosystem.
I think so, yeah. Is it the only one today that's still...
I guess some people would debate how decentralized, certain L2s are versus like parachains and the Elves protocol. But like it was super difficult just because, they always want to make improvements. There's always going to be changes. Like how many versions of XCM are there now?
5 or 6.
Yeah, like we are, even though we didn't really work on that side of the things, like we kind of became experts at reading like Substrate, Polkadot SDK repo.
Yeah. And then translating it basically.
Essentially trying to translate it. And like it was kind of difficult because a lot of the things that are in Rust aren't like easily translatable in Go. Like the enums aren't really a thing in Go. And then the encoding that they use in the Polkadot ecosystem is really kind of like tightly coupled to the Rust type system. So it's a little difficult to try to translate it into other languages that don't have the same type system.
I don't know if anybody did get an alternative client. Maybe Kagome got a few blocks through. I'm not sure.
Kagome, they're the C++ alternative client. They actually got to Kusama. They got to Polkadot. They run their own nodes. Actually, ChainSafe runs a few nodes, like Kagome nodes as well.
Yeah, cool.
To try to promote some client diversity.
So it's a noble effort. Never quite got it there, and then the DAO told you, or OpenGov basically told you, maybe this isn't the play anymore. Because when we move Polkadot onto Jam, we don't need alternative clients, because actually the hardware, the Jam, the machine underneath is made in alternative made in many languages.
Yeah, so with the jam milestones in place, like it's kind of promoting this, what does Gav call it?
Yeah.
This clean room implementation
Yeah.
where we're not supposed to share our code with other teams, and we're not really supposed to look at other teams' code. And so even the jam node that Parity is working on is not open source at this point.
Yeah.
But we're all kind of working off the gray paper. They're releasing like test suites related to each milestone. And the goal is to get 3, I guess, performant nodes by the end or by the release of Jam.
Yeah.
And yeah, ChainSafe and the Gossamer team intend to be one of those nodes.
Well, it was a year ago that we had Jimmy on the show. And I mean, his energy was amazing. He was very, very confident at the time.
Yep.
How's it going since?
Yeah, I think we're doing well. We've been attending the Jam events, so we try to maintain a presence.
Yeah.
We're ready. We're pretty ready for a milestone 1 submission. I think that just based on the latest open dev call, there's someone from Parity working on like a fuzz tester for like the Jam state transitions. And a lot of it's not that different from Polkadot. It's kind of like just repurposing this idea of like shared security and multiple cores, but
Really?
we're kind of like replacing the underlying compute from WebAssembly to PVM. So I think that's kind of like the genius around Jam. It's kind of like just a natural iteration, like kind of like taking what Parity's been working on and seeing that like there could be improvements made to try to reach developers, kind of like make it more analogous to what Web2 developers are used to.
Yeah, okay.
Like kind of just being able to code in any language that they choose and deploying to the Web3 Cloud and maybe utilizing some like blockchain technology, like being able to transfer assets and all that. The steps that, or at least the decisions that led us to here have been kind of like an iterative approach, right? Like it's just, you kind of need someone that can see the entire stack, see the entire landscape and kind of be like, what if we use that as the underlying like compute engine and utilizing core time and elastic scaling, and now like this idea of like core VM, which kind of like mimics like more like a Linux operating system. We're essentially building like a Web3 version of the cloud, right? So
That's so cool.
yeah.
You know, I haven't heard anybody describe it as iterative before, but maybe it's just because you've been working so closely all along. It like doesn't look like brand new from the outside. But from your point of view, and even if it's iterative, like, does this look like a big step for the industry?
I think it's a big change for the industry just because we're kind of moving from the idea that everything is going to be a smart contract to everything is just generalized compute, you know, like generalized, say you're building a product, right? Like you kind of need to know where it's going to run. Maybe you need to store some data, you know, and you got to figure out how it's going to scale. And so like AWS, like that was the thing, right? Like you're not going to be able to handle the world's traffic or build in any of these products without like AWS supporting you, right?
Sure.
That was the catalyst. And that's when you saw like this, you know, interactive web, like all these products that we now kind of just take for granted, you know, it's part of our world. But like that still really isn't a thing, I guess, in Web3, unless maybe if you decided to build on Polkadot, you have to build your own parachain, you have to worry about your own infrastructure, you have to hire your own development team to build out the chain.
Maintain.
Like that's kind of analogous to like maybe like Web2, but still that's a lot of work, a lot of infrastructure that you got to manage.
Yeah.
If we can just bring it to a point where you hire a developer, I don't think anyone really cares too much. At least developers don't really care too much about like one ecosystem versus another if it just works, you know? So like if we have like, you're able to buy a core, you're able to execute your program because there's a SDK that converts your language down to the actual like PVM code. If you're able to like store things in a data lake, which is part of the Jam upgrade, you know, maybe a lot of those components that you need to deliver a product are already kind of taken care of, you know?
Yeah, I feel like this vision of like the Web3 cloud, you know who else is trying to do this eigen layer? They're trying to do it as well. But it seems a little aspirational still, right? It's kind of like an idea, like this could work out sort of. But to your point, right now, you still need this whole team to kind of drill down and get access to these services or whatever, not jam services, but it kind of seems that maybe what Gav has been talking about lately with Parity is we're going to build products, and it kind of sounds like operational products they want to build, like products that Parity can run on. But in the process of building those products, they're going to build all that middleware that you need to actually make the infrastructure useful. Because like AWS isn't like, here's access to machines like distributed around the world. It's like, here's like services built on top, right?
Yeah, like they offer, like their services are like EC2, which is like cloud compute, S3, which is like cloud storage.
Yeah, so we kind of need to build that out to actually make it useful, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what like Jam is starting to realize, you know, like they're worried they're going to build like a blockchain SDK or a service SDK where you'll be able to write things in Rust and then just deploy a service on Jam.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know that they are looking to try to bootstrap like other service SDKs. Like that's kind of what we're kind of interested in too. We want to be able to write your service in Go and interact with some SDK to be able to eventually run on as a Jam service and utilize like Jam features.
Okay.
And then these things kind of will be interoperable between each other. So it won't even really matter what language you wrote it in. But you'll be able to communicate with other services as well, you know? Like it's kind of more analogous to how things work in Web 2, right? Like if you need like authentication, maybe you like do the authentication through Google or Facebook, and then you have that component. So now you have identity, and then you build out your product based on that, and you maybe need some storage or some backend storage, which you kind of have to pay for, but like it's kind of the same idea. Like if we have like a giant data lake that Jam is running on, you'll be able to access that storage as well and kind of run it more like what you would expect like a Web 2 product would be. But it would be completely decentralized, right? Like Parity, Gav, they've been working on all these ideas that are so far ahead of the rest of the ecosystem that you're kind of like looking at, you're like, how is this all going to work together? How is it all going to fit together? But like at some point when all these things are built and then you have other teams kind of supporting other languages, like I do think that there will be like a wave, you know, people will realize that it's not that difficult to build on Web3. And then why wouldn't you? Because then you have access to the entire world, you know, like.
Well, that's a good question. Why wouldn't you? Or maybe the other question is like, why would you move from this well-established AWS framework to something like this? Why would anybody move over?
I think it's kind of the same reasons that like Mythical chose to build their own parachain. You know, like there's cross-border restrictions, you know, like if you're not in the capital markets or the financial markets of North America, that resonates more with you because we're kind of like spoiled here in North America. Like I can send you money through our banks and it's all kind of taken care of, you know, but we're limited to our geographic space, right? So, but like if I wanted to interact with someone across the world, it's going to be super difficult, right?
Totally.
But if everything is open, you know, decentralized, permissionless, then that kind of opens up the entire world, really.
So is ChainSafe thinking about some services to build on Jam?
I think they're always observing, you know, we have like kind of like consultants and people kind of trying to think about maybe ways that we could build some products. But for me personally, I'm more invested in trying to like realize this future, like trying to build up the infrastructure, the public goods, so that we can make this a reality, you know?
Sounds cool. Now, besides working on Jam, you guys did get something through the Treasury recently, and it's a move away from the alternative client. Now you're actually contributing to the SDK itself.
Yeah, we talked with Parity. We were in like pretty much constant communication with some people at Parity. They knew of our like the fact that our proposal got rejected. We had talks with like Pierre and Robert, and I think they kind of realized that we are a kind of like a special group of,
Like
I guess,
experts.
yeah, like
Yeah, you guys are like experts.
we were reading like Substrate and Polkadot for the code for like a good number of years now.
Yeah,
So we understand like the kind of like the nuts and bolts and how the sausage is made.
totally.
And so we're kind of in a good position to be able to contribute back to it. And there are so many things that need some developer attention in Polkadot.
Cool.
And even though Parity is quite a large team, they have a large team of engineers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of initiatives that maybe no one had time to really look into,
Yeah.
but would still kind of be impactful in the ecosystem. So like maybe to highlight a few, like we have Ecclesio, an engineer here actually based out of Brazil. He's working on like approval checking rewards. So there's an RFC based on that where validators that do approval checking will get rewards based on like acting properly when checking like candidates for parachain blocks.
Okay.
We're working on speculative availability, which kind of like allows us to like validate blocks quicker. I'm working on WebRTC, which is kind of like a technology. It's a Web2 technology. It's kind of used by like Google. It's kind of what you use to like stream or do peer-to-peer streaming. Like Google Meets uses it. But we're using it to try to use it so that we can bring light clients in the browser to connect to nodes. Right now, everyone uses secure WebSockets, but like WebRTC is kind of like a iteration of that technology. But we're kind of hacking it, at least on the libp2p side, we're kind of hacking it to use it for in a decentralized network.
Yeah.
And I think like this idea of the light clients over trusted RPC nodes has always been a thing, but we're actually trying to, make it a reality now.
Cool.
And we'll take it from there. Like if we can complete some of these initiatives, there's more things that we can work on. But it's been quite a departure from what we've been doing before, just trying to play catch up. And now we're working alongside like the developers, like the Parity developers that we've been reading their code for years now.
Wow, what's it like?
They've been great. Like they've been super receptive. I think they welcome any help that they can get, really.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I'm pretty blessed to be able to kind of work in this ecosystem because I feel challenged every day. Like, even though maybe I'm a little bit older than some of these developers that I look up to now, like it's really cool to be able to make impactful changes in the ecosystem, not just trying to play catch up, but actually, drive the thing forward.
I love this ecosystem so much. I enjoy waking up every day and just trying to chip away at everything we're doing here. It feels so impactful and useful.
I think that's kind of what I was looking for, when I kind of made the leap into this ecosystem. Like I wasn't really doing anything unique. I felt like I wasn't really contributing back to the broader technological landscape. But like now it actually feels like I'm realizing that vision, like I wake up pretty motivated to work on these things, and I'm looking forward to keep contributing.
Hell yeah. Well, nice to have you on the show, Tim. Thanks for all the work you're doing, making the existing SDK better, but of course, also the work on the future as well.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff.
Awesome.